So we're going to talk a little bit more about FreeNAS tonight. More of like a business environment where you actually use it to set up Active Directory, create Windows shares, something you would probably more use in a more technical environment. You can also set up other NFS shares if you're using Windows or non-Windows machines, such as Linux or Unix as well. So we're going to start by creating the actual ZFS volume itself. This is all done through KVM right now. So we created just a 10 gig disk, and there's no volumes. So we're going to add one. This is just a little virtual drive we added, and we'll call it WuData. And it's only a stripe. You can't really do much else with it because there's only one drive. If there was two, we could mirror them. If there was more than that, we could do other fancy things. That's where you get into your RAID Z1, RAID Z2s for extra redundancy if you wanted it. We kind of covered this a little bit last time. But if you have any questions, let me know. So we'll add it. Hopefully this works. I've never tried to run ZFS in a virtual machine on a virtual drive, so it's kind of weird, but we'll let it think. It's only 10 gigs, so if anything's going to go bad, it should happen quick.
Is that database that you're talking about, OFX?
So would running deduplication on a drive that's small?
Open Financial OFX.
It depends on the kind of data you're going to putting into it. I mean,
that's true.
Because it's all practicality.
Because I was here to think, like, don't enable deduplication on 16
We can talk about that.
Yeah, well,
We can.
You don't want it to go through all your inodes and check everything.
Just wondering.
So we've got a drive here. It's set up. It's ready to go. We can now access it, and it will show up. This one. From here, if you wanted to set up backups or user directories, if you had a department that did like operations, you can make their own folder. This is kind of how you would set up your Windows shares once you're to that point in that kind of environment. To do that, we can create a data set, and that will be named whatever we want. So let's just call it users for now. We'll make the old users directory where we can set up just system user files from this other documents on the network. A lot of this stuff you don't need to worry about. I've always kept it the same and it works fine. There is a bunch of advanced stuff if you are into setting up quotas, which is good. So this is only a 10 gig. If we wanted our users to be limited to 2 gigs of this, we could set that here and they wouldn't be able to go over that. So if someone started uploading big old pictures, and we could shut that down. Really easy. It's better off in this case with the users directory to limit the actual users themselves so that one person doesn't fill up the whole drive and ruin it for everybody. They get their 1 gig in this case, and we'll cover that in a little bit. But this we will save. And now we've got a users. So within users, if you did want to create, let's just say a WuLUG user, he would now be able to come in here. We'll just give them okay. I hope that's the right syntax. Looks like it took it. Okay, and you can see that the WuLUG user only has 1 gig available on their drive, and as they start filling that up, that percentage here will start to increase.
Say that again.
I put a data cap on them,
okay.
So they can only fill up that folder. We made a WuLUG user in the users folder directory, basically, that only caps out at 1 gig, so they can only fill it up so far. Otherwise, if you want to do others, you come back to the root one here, and we can make what's another good folder? Just a share folder, in case people just have like a bunch of company documents that they want to stick in there. We'll give the share folder 5 gigs worth. In theory, you would structure this to a point where it would organize itself on the drive to the most efficient manner. but we're not playing with much. So, okay, so the shared drive and the user is on the same level here. This one takes up 5 gigs. This one can take up all of it, but not really, because we're only locking the user out. And we'll just take it off from here. To set up the directory services, oops, I can use this mouse pad. We'll have to set up our domain, the domain account, and the password. So this is the administrator, basically, which we'll keep. We'll just do WuLUG.local. Is that taken? I don't think I'm on the local on the network here, anyways.
You're behind your private.
Yeah, so it's all good. If your company did have a .org or a .local that they were using, most of them wouldn't use .orgs internally, but they might have a domain already set up that would go in there. Admin, let's do WuLUG. Do it again. Let's just check advanced real quick. Yeah. So you set up your server name. We'll just leave it as FreeNAS. WuLUG FreeNAS. That might make it bad, actually. Windows has a weird thing with underscores. It doesn't usually like them. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So that is all good. And then under services, actually we'll set up our shares real quick too. So here's where you can set up, if you wanted to do NFS in a Linux or Unix environment, you could set up your NFS shares. You can see under here is our same structure we just set up before. So here you can select whatever system you were working with and create that kind of share from there. We'll do a CIFS so that Windows 7 can see it. Set up the share folder. We'll just call it share. We'll leave it as a password needed for now. Please wait. And not yet, because we're going to add one more. Miss my spot. Collapsed it. So this took me straight to services. The services is at the bottom here. It'll be under our services. And they'll all show up here. If you click control services, it's the same screen that I'm on. You can fine tune these. So the CIFS is the window sharing. You can set it up for guest accounts and stuff. You don't want to have passwords for it. There's a lot of tweaking in here. If you're familiar with Samba, you can add the auxiliary parameters for starting up Samba and getting that going. So if there was some specialized features you needed that's not included in the buttons, you can add those in. And let's just double check our domain config. Here we go. And it is Active Directory. I think that's is that right, Chase? I don't know. I think that's the top level. Here you can kind of select the server version we're working with. 03 should work fine for what we're doing here. If there was a special need to come up to 2008 for different NT permissions and stuff, you could go with that.
Question,
Yes.
the DNS forwarder, if you had a domain name on a registrar,
Yes.
would that work?
That's
Port that to
not the way this works. The DNS forwarder for this, with a domain controller, it has to be in control of the DNS so that all of the clients talk to it first so they can get where they're supposed to talk to. Because if you set up special DNS entries on here for itself or other things, other servers on the network, it will just send your traffic to them. But if it doesn't know where a DNS entry is, it says go here instead, which would be your top level router in your company that goes out to the internet. So any DNS that your server, your domain controller doesn't know what to do with, this is where it sends that traffic to go look for actual DNS. WuLUG? I don't think this is important. Nope. Save these settings, and we'll turn it on. That should be pretty much the gist of it. That will be the basic beginning of just getting this set up. And it's still quite a bit faster than actually making a Windows server. So CIFS, it gets turned on automatically with domain controller. I've had problems in the past where it being turned on already and then trying to turn on a domain controller, it already sees Samba running and it doesn't work well. So you'll notice that turning this on will turn both of them on. Because Active Directory directly uses CIFS and that did not turn on. Oh no. No. We'll try it again, just because.
Is there any errors in terminal?
I don't know. It may be due to DNS. We were debating whether this would work or not. Let's see here. Service
If you go back to the virtual machine, it should show things on the terminal.
Yeah. Gotta get over there. NT status unsuccessful. Samba mad, obviously.
You turned on for me earlier.
You did it?
Yeah.
Domain controller did?
Yeah.
With nothing set up in it?
Yep, and it stayed on.
But you didn't have anything set up in here though.
Sure didn't. Remove Daomain.
Yes, right.
Did you retype the password?
I don't think so. Hopefully this works.
Is there any errors in the terminal now?
Nothing helpful.
Okay.
Come on. That's not good.
Was CIFS on before?
Yeah, the CFS is going to work fine.
What, did you turn it on before?
It turned on after I added those shares. Well, we'll try and do this way. Start Samba first and then start the domain controller.
Oh.
Who knows? It shouldn't work that way, but
That would have been, that would have been WuLUG for.
And terminal's not giving you an error?
it is just spewing all sorts of stuff out, but it's not useful. Hey, all right.
Yeah.
Who knew? That would actually work. All right, well, let's see if we can get Windows to play nice now. That's always the real gamble.
I'm only doing it.
Oh God, trap me. There we go.
What are you studying?
Okay, so real quick, we need to set up DNS. In the real world, you would have your DHCP server tell your clients to forward all DNS to your domain controllers. But we don't have that. Gotta do this the hard way. Windows 7 makes this the hardest thing possible.
First week you're talking about FreeNAS. Like application
Which, I get my IP set up. Sure. Remember them? There we go.
Oh, I never was, I'm talking about Google contact.
And this is the IP of the FreeNAS server. That's all we need.
So the FreeNAS is taking care of DNS as well?
Yes, as a domain controller, it has to be in charge of DNS for the Windows environment to work right.
Okay, so you're logging on to the FreeNAS as a user? Or are you just able to see the network and documents and folders and stuff?
How do you mean?
It's FreeNAS is acting like a Windows server.
It's faking being a Windows server.
But you don't have to log on to it?
I set it up.
Yeah.
With the...
Well, yeah, we're getting there.
Oh.
So now that our DNS is set up, you set this up just like you would normally.
I don't think you need the dog.
You don't need to. And we use our admin that we just made with admin and WuLUG was the password. And it should say you have successfully joined the domain, and you have to restart, because that's how Windows rolls.
So you added WuLUG 1-PC into
the domain.
in FreeNAS before you went here?
No, this is the computer name. Okay, so I think unknown username. I don't think so.
Is it administrator?
I just typed admin. I think I need that.
Okay.
This always takes a long time anyways. Match name failed. Okay.
Okay, now, if I remember correctly, inside FreeNAS, you really set the domain up as WULUG, but did not put the .local on
Hang on.
That's correct, yeah. Your domain was.
The realm was .local though. Hang on though. I think I need to reset the username and password on the.
FreeNAS?
Yes. There we go. That's something. Right here. This I think might have gotten reset.
Installing it, like, if I install it,
Hopefully this restarts just fine.
it. Right there, do you need .local there?
No, that actually made it. No, it didn't technically make it fail. We'll try it with just WuLUG. I think you can make it .local though. It's been a little while since I set these up. Yeah.
Okay.
We're just gonna try it at this point now.
And type.
Did you have to redo the?
Oops. There we go. Oh no.
Error, no recipe found for video. What?
Just saying 19.
Oh, it keeps trapping me.
Did it say the same thing?
Like a make file for making my
That's not what I wanted.
Actually, basically every appliance you're referring to is basically the
Yes. It didn't say it.
Windows on
Okay, this didn't save. That's probably a lot of the problem.
Like there's no.
It's just temporary. Okay, it's just
It would be nice to have Windows just containing your Eric does a good job of it.
Right now, this one I have is Windows 10 pump.
It won't let me save it
And also one
or enable it.
Remember that up there, it may take it now.
I would go back to services, I'd flip it off.
Yeah.
I'd redo everything and then turn it back on.
Reset it.
Yeah, I should say I have
Service could not be stopped.
So this, based on how it's
I did the toaster thing a bit far because it really depends on basically what they did, just hooked up the development board. So the development board architecture supports the external.
Looks like it started there. Actually, we're gonna try it just this. 'Cause technically, I'm using the.
Still not letting you enable. I never had BSD on this. This was always just out there. Oh, yeah, that's right. My home server.
Huh? It's not.
Was
I would go to services, I'd turn it all off, and then I'd go to the settings and redo them, and then turn it on.
I really want to try FreeBSD, but
You can't turn CFS off. With domain controller running.
Yes, I'll fade it so you're. As long as I'll probably do that.
And I put the wrench. And here, I would type in a new administrator password.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was the problem.
Hang on, what if it's just because it's not meeting password requirements?
I don't think it saves it when you redo these settings. I think you type it in every time. There are
Actually, it
strict
was on the
password
domain.
requirements though.
Yeah.
So that was all that. And it doesn't stop you either, it just fails.
Exactly.
There's a reason I keep this
Oh my god.
Actually, that's exactly what it was. Because it was the same problem. It would say the same thing when you tried to join. That's what it was saying.
They that started a whole lot quicker.
Oh, CFS always starts pretty quick.
Oh, but you would.
Oh yeah, it was.
Windows image.
That's right.
You have to watch it on that. Troubleshooting. Do it. I mean, it's okay.
What network? Come on. The other thing is I may need to actually add a user. Here.
Did it be the same error?
I don't know yet. I'll let it think for a minute. It takes a little bit.
So I think the problem he was running into, and I remember when I first started playing with Samba 4, it was a problem that I ran into and it took me a while to figure out. With Samba 4, they enforce strict administrator password requirements, but when you type it in, if you don't meet the requirements, it doesn't tell you. It just always fails the end of the password.
Just write the keyboard then.
It's
ZAQ1. I'm serious. You know, I mean, That's the thing is these guys are creating these password requirements, you know. It's gotta be at least 32 characters long, has to have a special case, has to have an uppercase. So now, instead of actually creating these truly random passwords, we're creating pattern passwords, you know? It's nothing that nobody can remember. Because
You changed it to administrator, didn't
Alpha
you?
jumped over the red raspberry bush 3 days ago type deal. So now you're-
Actually, I'm pretty sure administrator is built in Samba 4 account, fully typed out.
Yeah, maybe so.
Like.
Because when you put it in under
Well, the theory.
the actual settings, it only asks for password.
I'll put that next.
Was it correct horse staple or whatever?
Right, exactly, you know,
Correct.
you might say-
Horse batteries.
No, am I supposed to do that?
Doesn't it give you insight? on-
And then, you know, at the end, it's like, you have not done the special,
Right.
you know, money sign, you know?
Did it?
Yeah.
Take it.
I mean, especially.
There you go.
Even for like government passwords, I mean, I just write the keyboard all day long. And then I just, all right, and then I shift it. I shift it from over and over, and then, all right, that pattern's gone. Let's reverse it, let's go this way.
Sometimes password
My
requirements
style.
don't mean anything. If you guys ever use like Pearson.
See, I'm getting hostname mismatches though. I think that has something to do with it.
There you go, that was it.
Oh, good. Okay.
You know, check
All
password.
right, so then I get to restart.
As long as the characters are right. Okay, so-
Must restart. Restart now. Let's go for it.
Yep.
It's that.
I did.
That and administrator built in.
Yeah.
Windows.
Yeah, but you're saying case is always there. I'm so angry.
I don't think it set that up like that in previous versions of Samba on
It
here.
did. From the beginning of Samba 4, that was a thing. Very beginning.
No, I mean before
Samba 3.
Samba 3, yeah.
When it Active Directory begins.
Yeah. 'Cause I remember using the admin. I actually remember using the root user.
Not Samba 3.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that. It's an Active Directory.
Okay, so now we actually have to log in.
They should have a password.
Right.
Yes.
Like, the comparison of the half, like.
So we should be able to log in as admin
Right,
actually.
in the admin section, I don't.
Oh, no.
The placetype password, I hash the value, and then even the hashed value of the password doesn't get
Log in to
Right now,
WuLUG,
the placetype's value
our domain.
I get the hash.
So we can just log in as administrator.
Website on the browser, the client.
No big
All
deal.
logged in.
Yeah,
There's
since
no
it's-
hash value's equal, but-
Oh.
Well, even a.
Oh, man.
If you use this, you just got this 3 weeks ago. Like the passwords are all stored in the under /, etc. /shadow, and those are just all hashes.
Right, with the salt value.
Yeah.
But-
There we go.
Right.
So.
And we have Active Directory. Did you put admin tools on here?
No.
They probably.
Oh, man.
You can download it.
Yeah. Can I, do I have internet access on here? Okay.
From
Should.
the hashed value, you get the value.
So, in a workplace environment, you would still have one computer that does manage your domain, your user policies, all that stuff. So you still have to set one of these computers up to do that.
We would send them the hash value, however we had this.
Which means that we need to install
It would automatically, it would create a account.
the administrative services. Is that not here anymore? That would be a pain.
So the hash value is.
It would save the address, the address, the password, it would save every single thing except the credit card information.
That was another Excel file.
Yeah, I might have. I thought it was here though.
It doesn't matter how the dots
I think only.
when the user meshes up, it's really good. But I've got PhD level comments on that. WSU password.
That's good.
No.
And of course we have to use Internet Explorer for this. Such crimes.
That's not bad.
Is this Windows admin tools?
Because the motion about that is just change everybody. You know, hey, start off with A. You want to be able to today. B, you want to be able to today. And these are up. C, the A's. No.
Max 16 there.
Yep.
No, but no, what I'm saying is every 90 days, you know, because you're like this. I've found you like 2.
Why are there two that are exactly the same? Wait, they're named? Oh, no, they're named exactly the
Oh,
same.
186, 164.
Oh, what did you install?
64.
Okay.
Random password, even I don't know. I use it.
Scroll doesn't do anything?
Oh, yeah?
I'm so confused.
Huh.
I'm missing
You
something?
can't get that stuff in these hardware.
Is there more? Oh, there's
Wow.
So,
one. Had to full screen it to see the bottom.
Until like you said.
Windows Explorer.
Oh, man.
policy.
Which is why that is also and that it's not WSU.
No. And this is the battle we fight.
Which happens to be
Pop-up junk.
So,
It's not
Once you go Harry Carrier dress.
letting me download the
Anybody
file.
else got the question?
Does it give you an error?
Oh, very good.
If you would like intro.
Oh, here we go.
It's open. There we go. Oh, you should have done that.
I'm just going for it. Oh wow. Oh, we got fast enough internet. It'll work. I got my fingers crossed.
Just go for it.
I don't think you can actually do it.
Oh, yeah.
I do.
Can you clone machines?
The question
Yeah.
being, what
Okay.
is
It doesn't change anything in the OS itself, so usually you have to manually change host names and things.
What version of Windows are you using there? Pro?
Yeah, you have to have Pro for
It's
domain.
Windows 7 Pro.
Yeah, you won't be able to use domain services without Pro.
and you can try.
I'm just gonna throw out PowerPC.
Has anybody here ever set up an Active Directory server before?
Or had to deal with it at a business.
Oh, I've done it. But
I said it's too bad because you guys don't appreciate what we just did.
I literally just watched it the other day. My wife was, you were, why are you watching?
And it took relatively quick time. 20 minutes or so? 23 minutes to get your domain up and running?
Yeah. With problems and headaches, yeah.
Just a few. No more than you install. No more than you encounter otherwise.
Oh, wait, it's 12:03 a.m. Have we been here that long?
Yeah.
What is it then?
That might actually.
I just found the script.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's in the domain. It's been that problem.
I don't need the script.
Unless the time's that far off on the other side.
1656.
Or unless it's a time
These
zone.
times are all off everywhere.
If GMT's right and it's a time zone thing.
Yeah.
anytime you set up a server, it challenges you.
I think
in
it's
every
Friday
way
even.
possible before you get it.
Right. By the time.
In the Friday morning, in fact.
Oh, isn't it a giant pain to actually set up internet time on Windows?
Yes, I never got it to work right. Never, ever.
Yeah, I don't know.
And actually, I think
You gotta do it in a
I
whole
think it's
different-
blocked on the network you're on. So
Yeah, you gotta do it in a whole different way.
Set manually. That's the only way I've ever,
Yeah.
ever been
No,
able
it's
to
the
set it
university
up.
and our system, and it's some outside systems through emails. Times, they're all.
Let's see here.
well, Kerberos
704.
usually has problems if the time's that far off.
Welcome back to America.
So next week there will be a new show business.
There we
Yeah,
go.
it's Spark is.
Nice fixes a few things.
So it's
Oh,
a security
God.
processor architecture
How bad could this be?
used
Searching for updates
Yeah.
on this computer.
That's what I've heard.
So have you got this on the domain yet?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, we're just using the admin tools. Pay attention, I see.
We thought you were still stuck.
Yeah, dude, that was like 10 minutes ago.
Yes, we're on the domain. We do have the admin user working right now. We're just installing the admin tools for remote server administration so that you can add more users and update your group policies and set up however you want your network from there. But the installer for the admin tools is doing something all on its own. So, as is the way with most Windows units.
So FreeNAS has pumped up a lot of its services. 'Cause when I first started playing with it years ago, it was nowhere near this.
It has a huge amount of services now. It is a drop-in replacement for any business file server.
So basically, you set it up between you and the gateway, and then to your network, and
Yep.
have a does she have firewall?
Yeah, it has firewall built into it as well. So if you want to run a firewall table and stuff, you can do that.
Flex server, straight up and down.
Yeah, it does pretty much anything a server you would need to do on a network. So. And it's a domain controller on top of it all. So runs
In my
some-
experience,
some before.
if you're putting it in a place that is truly going to utilize the server to its full potential, FreeNAS will get in the way.
So
FreeNAS is usually only good in smaller environments because it is really easy and quick to set up.
Yeah.
But they took FreeBSD and put their own layer of junk on top.
Yeah, you
That's
could.
one way to look at it.
You can still
So
install
if you're looking
FreeBSD.
for pure performance and you're truly going to utilize the server to its potential, then you should probably just use FreeBSD.
Okay, you're installing right now
But then, of course, you have a
remote
lot more
server
configuration.
management software?
Yes, because you can't deal directly with the Windows tools and the domain policy and adding and removing users and setting up their permission levels within a Unix environment. It's the tools aren't set up in
This is a
FreeNAS.
special one.
This is just downloaded from Windows.com. This is the remote admin, yeah, remote server management
Windows
tools.
remote server manager.
Yep. And it installs all of your server tools
Well, and
you would see on an actual Windows server, such as add or remove users, set up your domain policies, all that stuff. So that
And it
all those
works
tools.
with the FreeNAS.
Well, yeah, because it's the domain controller, so it has the domain
And that, like, you
database
saw
on
where he was,
it,
where
just
he
like a
was
Windows server
switches under
would.
server.
So you get these tools to
All you
talk to
do
that
is switch
database
the IFS
on the
Even
Unix
by
machine.
default, I don't think you'd have to configure it.
Anyway.
You don't have to.
But you save yourself about $1,300.
As soon as you set up a file system, and then you want to
Because Windows Server 2012, last time I checked, was about $700, and that does not include your
under
cows.
plugins, there's like a whole
So-
bunch of
That's right. And also,
Right, so if she was doing that, you could like
terminal
click on all those
services.
services and
Exactly, yeah.
if you want
sharing media center.
terminal
This-
services, then you gotta,
This doesn't do terminal services, so it's not a terminal server, but you'll have to find a different means of getting that set up otherwise. So
Retro Pi, one of my Retro Pis from kids, and they're playing Sonic.
I don't know why this thing.
It's like, why did you send that?
so, in terms of remote desktop in Windows, it comes with two administrators for remote desktop, which is
Right.
called terminal service.
Yes.
So,
Sega.
Yeah, this won't run terminal server though. You would have to set up
it won't run remote desktop.
well, you could set up remote. You don't run remote desktop on your domain controller though, because it's just a Samba database. It doesn't actually have a Windows environment at all in it. It's just running the Samba database. And this is all this is talking to. It's just a Samba database.
So what you're gonna do here is manage
You can think of this.
with Windows.
Yes, you can think of this as a computer you have on the side. One of your other business computers, like this. This would be running.
It's Windows based.
Yes, but that it's Windows based.
So when
If you didn't have any Windows computer, you wouldn't have a need for this
When we're
anyways.
done here, you're gonna manage that FreeNAS with this.
With this Windows 7 computer you would have on the side, yeah.
Interesting.
The Active Directory domains that you dealt with, do you just always log into the server to set up users and stuff?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just
If you go to
desktop.
Microsoft's website, you can download what's called the Windows Admin Tools.
Yeah.
And that gives you all the tools if you log in yourself, except you can do it remotely.
Yep.
And that's what is installed.
Yeah, so you can do it from any computer on the network that has admin privileges. I think I need to let this thing sit for a second. I don't know if that's. I'm already. I don't know why it's doing that. This is part of the installer. Yeah. But it's searching for updates on this computer, not searching for updates on the network. So it's not looking on the internet for it.
Maybe you should kill the network.
I know, but I don't know how to get around. I can't get around this, so I could hit cancel, but I think that might undo everything.
Let it run.
What else can we show on the FreeNAS side?
Well, we can access Windows shares already from here. So if we go to, I think it was just FreeNAS, WuLUG FreeNAS, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Go to network.
I don't know. Yeah, network will tell
It's
us.
not going to be very many things underneath there.
Yeah, cancel. Yeah, I don't remember what the, but we don't have DNS set up properly, so
I shouldn't even talk to Rick or Stallman.
It should be okay.
that's just for things to see it, not for it
Like
to see
on a
it.
network without having a man.
Yeah, the forward.
You know, like, so Rick or Stallman uses some like. design
Yeah.
platform.
Yeah,
Because the company.
With the proper DNS
Click
setup,
search
this-
Active Directory,
Open source
that button at the top, right there.
And they also don't have Windows stickers on the bottom.
search Active Directory.
To take that off. Can you take that
We can.
I watched one.
Oh.
On YouTube, it's kind of hard to
This is not going to be a little
Yeah.
Is make sure you don't.
Let me just grab the IP real quick.
You too. There's a lot of.
I keep forgetting it, so I have to check it again.
You should look up now.
Oh, after the feast.
Yeah, I don't know what the host name was.
Like, I will learn that Monday. I think
Could be that. Ah, it was FreeNAS.
But like.
Okay, so you can see we have our shares here. We do have a share folder. We're the admin, so we should have privileges here. As the admin user, you can set this up so that certain people may have access to it. Basically, you can set up your groups and stuff from here. For your users, you do have a WuLUG user. Once we have the WuLUG user in the system, we can give them sole rights to this folder and no one else. So other people can't come in and delete their personal files that they've saved to the network drive and stuff. And then on their local machine, you can set up a file. What's the name of the bat file that gets pulled in automatically on network login?
Is it under sysvol?
Yeah, you put it in sysvol.
Is there an NIFU one there?
But basically in the system volume, you should be able to set up some kind, there's a named script you put in here, I can't remember the name of it right now, that runs on network startup on every time the client logs in, and you basically can load up network shares based on their username from here. So if a user has a user folder that they're supposed to put their files in on the network, that would get logged in as like the U drive automatically for them.
We just have WSU share drives work on all the faculty
Yep.
Windows boxes.
Yeah, it's the exact same process. Sure.
So that pulls in the network drives in order to automatically.
You make you make a script that basically sets up the drives for them on initial login, and then when they log in to their Active Directory domain, they get a U drive for their user, they get an S drive for their share files, and it all just works for them. And I don't remember the name of the file though. Netlogin dot
Yeah.
something, netlogin or something. I can't remember.
I think it is netlogin.
dot bat. And there's some syntax for setting up network file shares that I don't remember either.
Yeah, if you can use netshare, but that's not very reliable.
Yeah.
If you use a VB script, if you call a VB script from the bat script and do it in VB,
Yeah.
it's a lot more reliable.
I mean, do you know how many different files are there?
You can set up snapshots. That's kind of cool though. It's nice to have the snapshots capability in case someone deletes a file of their whole directory or does something really dumb.
Yeah, snapshots.
What's jails?
Jails
There you go.
are
That'll take the rest of the time.
so jails are basically a locked-in kernel environment for running anything you want. So jails in this case are used primarily for plugins. FreeNAS comes with a bunch of plugins that do various things, such as media center plugins. You can do backups, you can do file recovery things, and they all install themselves into a jail, which is it uses the original kernel of the Unix operating system it's running in, but it creates a whole new set of system utilities for it. So all of the system files that it accesses are dedicated solely to it, and it cannot get back up to the root system above it. So it's totally isolated. It can't interfere with your original system. It can't access the files above it. It's jailed to where it's
It's like a CH root on crack.
yeah. It really is.
Are you familiar with Solaris zones or Linux containers?
Right, as far as like Docker or something like that.
Right, so containers were kind of a really bad implementation of the idea of what a jail is.
Containers are wonderful ideas.
Jails are very useful, though. They actually
You download all the Docker apps you want.
Yeah.
For instance, in my house, I have one FreeBSD server set up, and I have two jails. One is set up for a web server, and the other is set up for just a general use server. My file server and stuff all runs on the top level. But the web server, because it actually deals with outside public traffic, I never want it on my file server. I don't want any interaction. So I jail it. I take a jail, and it runs on my FreeBSD kernel, but I installed Apache, I installed an IRC client server, I installed a couple other things on that jail, and they run like they're a whole different machine. But they're on the actual same computer, and they never interfere, and there's no way that, if anyone gained access to my web server jail, they're never going to get up to the top level to infect my files or delete my directories.
Can you compare it to a root at all?
chroot? Yeah. It's like chroot, except it's kernel level more. It's more kernel level than anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's
The guys that created chroot, 10 years later came back and said, this is how we should have done it.
yeah.
And then they made a full system that isn't limited to just the things that chroot is limited to.
Interesting. All right, thanks.
And it's the same people that made chroot.
Huh.
The same programmers.
Huh, that's cool.
Paul Henningkamp did a good chunk of it.
It's another way of giving privileges to users, is that right? Because you're putting programs into a privileged user status?
It's not really
like
for
making another
users.
operating system.
It's
but
more
it's
more of setting up your system so that it's isolated.
Okay.
So it's beyond just the user access. You could have multiple users in a jail, and they would be isolated to that jail. They wouldn't be able to interfere with any other systems. Or if you have other jails can't interfere with each other. They're totally isolated.
So it's like giving somebody another application operating system.
In FreeNAS, you can share files and stuff between jails. It
It
does
still runs
inherently
off the kernel.
make it less secure. It kind of
It's
defeats
a
a little bit of the purpose of having the jail. But sometimes you do have a jail where you want maybe some file interaction between the two zones. You have to do it through a kind of a back-end system, NFS or something else.
Normally you
through
would
the
do it
local
as a
host.
network share,
Yeah.
and then you secure it at the network.
Yeah, so you do a NFS share through the local host, and it'll work that way. But
Oh,
I don't use NFS because it's not secure. iSCSI works great.
yeah, and you can
Especially because you're on the same machine.
yeah, you can ask it.
So iSCSI works great.
And speaking of let's just look at some of the plugins here. This should have internet access.
I mean, if you're blind.
I'll do it as a wizard.
I don't know. I don't even know what the wizard is. I think the wizard is for setting it up initially, but this is vanilla. Like we didn't use the wizard.
No, that's what I'm saying. Let's say you just clicked on wizard.
Click.
But you've never played with it, so you don't.
Yeah. So yeah,
that's the.
it's the setup wizard for the whole thing.
It asks like 3 questions after you do an install.
So
That's
we're
all.
actually in
Literally, that's
Is this
it.
your
No,
brother's
no,
PC?
hey, do you want to set up this type of server? Hey, do you want this?
We're in Chicago.
Is this your brother's PC?
No, but it's the same thing that was on it.
No, you're the chuck.
You got
Yeah,
the
let's do
couch potato in there, I
something.
remember that.
That's the
one.
plugins, yeah.
It's
It's
really
the same
gonna mess
thing.
this up.
I know you're about to mention what they're talking about. Did he do?
Just leave it dash dash.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna not set it.
Okay, so ZFS. I talked to ZFS.
Okay, so this will tell you if you want Active Directory, and it will go from there. This is for an Active Directory client, though, isn't it? This is not the Active
Yeah.
Directory settings for the
No.
actual server.
This is a client.
Yeah,
If they are.
so we'll just next.
It's trying to set up volumes.
If you wanted to set up shares, you can do it here.
File.
I have never run through this wizard because there's a lot of things it's going to ask you that you may have no idea what it is in the first place, or you may get confused and start typing things in that it may not need to be in there anyways, and it may start things you don't want.
I remember that when I played with FreeNAS, I didn't have a good time at the end. But when I played with it, the really nice thing in the wizard was it actually allows you very easily to set up for it to talk to the Gmail account. So that when there's problems, you can just use the Gmail account to email.
Yeah.
And the wizard is really, really helpful with that. I remember that being really quite easy to do.
Yeah, otherwise you just have to play with the menus to figure out where things all are. A little bit of clicking around, you'd figure out the majority of the system.
I've been some documentation.
Really good, really good. Yeah, their website, IX Systems manages this. Can I just click on this and take me there?
I think one of the, like you mentioned using FreeNAS a long time ago, it wasn't nearly this.
There you go.
Well, it was taken over by IX Systems. And IX Systems has been in the FreeBSD world for a long time. And they kind of took this in and they like revamped FreeNAS completely.
Okay.
And they support it on a day-to-day basis. And they're,
If I did.
When I played with it, it was literally just a window.
I would use it.
Terminal?
I just have.
Yeah.
Click, click, click. next, next, next.
Which you still get that.
Some people, there's some guy didn't have an installation, but.
Here's the back end. This is what still runs back there. So you're not missing that if you really wanted it.
No, and then the nice thing about the company that does it is they actually do tutorials online, like twice daily.
Yeah.
So they got recipes essentially?
Yeah, and they'll walk, and the guide button, that's what I clicked on here. This will tell you how to set it up. So if you needed to set up users, or if you wanted to set up email in it, you can go to the heading. It'll walk you through what everything does. All that from there.
And I think the only reason why that can be cold is because I was trying to do things like encryption, which it still really isn't great to do encryption.
And you need the hardware to support it for sure.
Yeah, I tried to embed it, and I could do it putting Luke's encryption on.
Is SSH set up on here? If you do have all Nix machines, you don't need to do a lot of this setup that I just went through. This was purely just for like a business Windows environment, which is still quite popular. So if you are going to do IT for any businesses, you're probably going to have to work with Active Directory domains in some portion of your life.
Go under plugins.
I did. It was downloading. I don't know if it got done yet. It looks kind of like it. Yeah, it's done.
Just hearing that sentence.
I
have no experience with military IT.
But otherwise, if you are just running Nix systems, you can just set up an FTP and an NFS or iSCSI on here, and you can get your shares and everything set up for Nix in a very, very local manner. Everything's natively speaking. It's really nice.
That's what you are saying, right? That was the most useful tool on the yeah.
Let's see here. So yeah, these are some of the plugins. Their forums, the FreeNAS forums, have a lot more plugins that users have created on their own. If you just needed to do network backups, Bacula it'll do all of that for you, no problem. I've actually used Bacula a couple times for businesses because it sets up user backups really well. Which I think Windows has a Bacula client as well, yeah? And then you just set it up and it talks to this and done. Completely done. Yep.
How many people use Dropbox?
OwnCloud?
Probably most of us. See that OwnCloud? All you gotta do is flip a switch and you got your own Dropbox.
Yep.
And you were asking about like Xbox Media Center? It's a plugin right over here. Actually, there's several plugins, I think.
They don't have, does it dynamic or DDNS updated?
There's a, I thought it was in here.
You might have to go to the forums for that one.
I thought the really old one though.
I thought I remember seeing it too.
Well, because I use my router, and it has a DDNS, and I use that to update the IP address.
Do you know any good free ones?
Yeah.
Which one?
No IP.
No IP?
Oh, here you go.
Okay.
There you go.
I don't know.
And,
Oh, yeah.
Yep, that one. Hold on.
By not using FreeNAS,
No IP.
All of them are,
No IP?
believe me, I have
every one of those that died.
Yeah, so then
They're all
set
free ones, yeah.
all your user information.
The only downside is you have to register it every 30 days. And you get an email reminder about it.
So you have to physically go onto their website.
You literally log onto the website, click on your next name, revalidate. So, I mean, it's not
They say the
difficult.
downside
And,
was.
like, for me, you just basically
The
give
one
it,
lady is called
a subdomain name.
And he says that the
and then,
downside is that
like,
every
let's
30
say
days you have to log into your account.
Just
Just because the reason they do that
it'll redirect
is
you
because
back to your
To your actual domain.
And then
as you
from
can
there,
imagine,
I can get
if you have
Yep.
dynamic access to DNS server,
Absolutely.
you want to do bad things. You can write scripts and bots
that's when I'll skip out.
to take advantage of DNS.
So I can just write.
So they want to make sure you're
So we did talk about a little bit about snapshots.
invalidate your account.
So snapshots will
They're doing that to
periodically,
protect
however
your
you set it up, take a snapshot of your ETFS volume, which basically takes all the data about the ZFS volume and it stores it once.
I'd have to log in
And
every
any other
30 days.
snapshot you make after that, it sees what has changed,
just switched it
and it just makes that modification.
So
Well, if it's
So
not free,
as you
how
make
much is it?
periodic snapshots, your first one is the biggest. It has all your data. And then if you make a giant change, there's going to be another giant snapshot. After that, if you just make small changes, if users update their files here and there, your snapshots will record however much change there is going forward. And you can always roll back to a previous snapshot and all your data will be like it was whenever it did that snapshot. So it's a very easy way of rolling something back that maybe didn't need to happen, for whatever reason. Does lots of things. Lots of reasons.
dyn.com.
DY.
That would be
In.
so we can add periodic snapshots to our data
That's
set.
a
And you can select, with ZFS, each one of these became a volume that we made. So every time you physically go in and add a volume for a share or
Little over
something,
$3
you can
a
make
month.
just a snapshot for that folder. So if you have a folder that doesn't matter, if it has both data in it that's not really important, you don't have to snapshot it. You can just skip it, maybe just do your users one so that all the files for them are set up, and start it every 2 weeks or 1 week or 1 month, 2 years. I don't know. You can set it up to last as long as you want, and just do every period you like, for every day you like. We're not going to set it up because I don't know how a snapshot's going to react on a virtual volume.
Go to play with an Exchange server with all the work I got to do.
Yeah.
She'll get that.
The volume manager on here is really nice. So if you do have a server that has 6 hard drives in it, and they can be differently sized, it's not really recommended for RAID performance, but if you do have hard drives that are of different size, they will work just fine otherwise. It just becomes a headache when you have to replace one later, because you will have to pick a drive of equal or bigger size. If you do pick one with bigger size, it can't utilize the full disk space, so you will be wasting some of that drive.
Really?
You could, I think you can. I think you can.
Because you're just partitioning the first portion as it's sitting out there.
Of whatever the old hard drive was. But then what are you going to do with that extra? Say it was a 400 gig before and you have a 1 terabyte, now you got a 600 gig bit, you're going to add a 600 gig to it, and that's just going to convolute.
Your other hard drive. Now you got 2, and if you do an LDM,
See,
Yeah.
what I have is
Basically the story is,
Yeah.
yeah, basically it's still good practice to take equal size hard drives so that if something happens, you can swap them out.
download
Set your volume name.
install it.
You can extend the volume, so if you wanted to add more size to one, you can make a volume extended.
I have to pay for
I don't really recommend that
And
practice
fee
though, because that does
for
convolute things
actually
again. If you did have 6 drives, you would see all 6 in here. You could just add all 6.
And if I have
This
a client
will
talks
give
about
you
it,
the
and
most
wants to
efficient
run it,
layouts for your
I
system.
don't do that.
I don't think it'll even let you anymore pick non-efficient ones. And it will, you can tell it, right here, you would be able to tell it like, I want RAID Z2 or RAID Z1, which is 1 drive redundancy or 2 drive redundancy. Or you can just tell it to stripe it and have no redundancy.
You can set up an Exchange server as a managed
can-
service.
There's a graphical tool here. So if you did have 6 drives, you could do like a mirror and then a stripe, and that would show up here as 2 drives that are mirrored, and then you would go down with a stripe, and you would have 3 chunks
Well, yeah.
of 2 drives.
And that's costly.
Or you could set the,
But there's optimal layouts for certain
Server up
things,
in their
between
office.
4, 6, 8. I
And
believe
install Exchange server
ZFS
for them, and they're
recommends
responsible
even numbers
for
of
the
drives.
they call you.
So if
for
we're going
help.
to set up a server, pick even numbers. It does work out better.
I like that.
But yeah, and then you can add the
I
volume
always
from
feel
here.
like
Once you have
people
this
that
set up,
bring everything in-house, and
it's,
they don't put it on
it'll
the
show up in your
I feel
volume,
like they're doing it because
just like we had
they're trying to
before,
force
and you can start breaking it apart however you want.
It's a never
I wanted
ending
to show
thing.
this. There we go.
IT.
So yeah, your volumes will show up here, and it will tell you everything about it. If you needed to double check things on
More
it,
than 2% budget.
it will actually show you in alerts.
But
If one of your drives is going bad,
2% is-
it'll give you the serial number of the drive that's failing, so you can open up your system, just look at the serial, and swap it out.
How's it for diagnostics?
Website.
Check this.
security.
It doesn't use any of those. Because it's ZFS, it has its own tools built in,
It's
which
not
is
unusual
Z
to
scrubbing,
have budget
Z full
for
scrubbing.
hardware.
And it periodically scrubs itself. It does self-maintenance. if something does end up failing, this alerts is going to be the first place you're going to see it. It will be spitting it out on the command line as well, but most people aren't going to look at that. So if you log in and this thing is blinking red or orange or yellow for whatever reason, it's going to have a reason of what's failing and why. If you have email set up, it'll email you too.
Now I was seeing a major
They say that it's a safe bet not to
kept
call it
alerting
that.
me saying
Oh, yeah.
smart
In that case, here's what this.
errors kept cropping up on my new hard drives. I
Interesting.
mean, drives were having smart errors, but it kept thinking I did.
Huh.
I think I've heard that's an issue with,
That seems like maybe a BSD thing then.
well, either that or
Underneath
maybe
it.
memory. I've heard
Yeah.
not using error correction memory.
ECC we call smart errors. That's on.
Were you running RAID
I was running RAID.
with encryption?
It is ZFS.
Yes. With
Then yes, you almost have to have ECC.
Yeah, with encryption, I think you
With
definitely
encryption
do.
and as RAID, it's
Oh yeah, that's one thing. When you do a volume, that's where you would set up encryption. We didn't really look at that, but under advanced, I think.
But from the sound of it, you need really heavy
Read the
duty
paper
hardware
today where the
to do that.
Navy is going
I
back
think
to
actually I can
navigation
the
by
whole volume.
stars. They can't they can't
There we go.
trust
So you
computers.
would check that if you wanted it.
This is
And there's a
read
giant
today's
warning.
paper. Which is
Because as you know, if you
big
encrypt a drive and if something goes wrong with that
Going
drive,
back to manual and lock.
you're done. You're
And
absolutely
then they said
done.
as second.
So unless you
Wow.
keep that key somewhere to decrypt it later,
The Russians
it's a very
The problem is it doesn't use anything that's standard in Linux.
Because they're tired of the.
Yeah, well, it's ZFS encryption, yeah.
So it's not using
So they
loops or
use their
anything, so you don't
navigation
have
back
the
to their
tools
Yep.
to rework it.
You have to, well, the only system you can really work with it on would be either a Sun box, a Solaris box, or a
Really?
BSD machine. And that's your
If you
native
go online, there's a bunch of
ZFS
people that are
environment for
using it
dealing with
today
that.
that
Where
are
you-
having blast.
What if they get hacked? You'd be in a big crash.
I personally don't
Well,
use
there's a lot of people
FreeNAS
that
for
don't
this, and you
crack
don't
that
have
big
to. All of these tools are readily available for Unix as standalone applications. Currently, FreeBSD, I think all BSDs, am I right, Chase?
You know,
All BSD, Chase, all BSD ship with ZFS now?
No, OpenBSD.
The
No.
OpenBSD doesn't?
I'm not sure about NetBSD. I don't think so.
Okay.
Maybe.
But FreeBSD does ship with ZFS out of the box, so if you wanted to set up the pool and stuff, the command line options are there to just set it up and run with
Somebody
it.
just bought it.
And
I know CentOS is now
Some big.
very heavily used.
I run
I don't
Arch
think it'll be
for
free
my
very
Linux
long.
distribution, and I've compiled ZFS into my system, and I've been running a ZFS mirror at my work
Type in
for
Google,
probably
say
2 years now,
OpenD.
and it's never had a problem. So it's never had any data loss or anything. Mirrors are a lot safer if you don't have ECC. So there's something, you're very low likely chance of having something getting out of whack if you don't have any type of RAID layout.
In the early days of Unix, Solaris kind of broke off from Berkeley, but like pre-lawsuit even, or like right at the beginning of the lawsuit. And a lot of these technologies are funded and developed for Solaris, but a good chunk of the people that work at Solaris are also FreeBSD developers. So you'll see this migration of Solaris technology into FreeBSD and then to Linux. And ZFS is like the shining star of that. Jails also.
Well, didn't Sun buy it?
We'll set up an FTP server real quick. Well, FTP is actually something you may use on a regular basis for all sorts of things. For now, we'll just set it up as the WU data directory.
A what server?
FTP.
Does anyone use FTP anymore because it's not secure?
For a local thing, I do because there's way less overhead.
FTP
It's
is
incredibly fast on a local network.
Yeah.
I mean, if you got a gigabit switch and a local FTP
Yeah, you'll
server,
get
man,
gigabit
it's-
speeds, no problem. You get 50,
Cisco
60
box.
megabits for your file transfer.
Well,
Or megabytes per second.
you.
But yeah, for a local network, I don't use
You're
secure. If
limited
it was doing
by
something
file
over the
size
over
with
the
most
internet,
email
yeah,
servers.
you
That's
probably
why
use
you still
SSH.
use FTP.
SFP.
Now, for anything outside of your local network,
Yeah,
just use
exactly.
SSH. That's,
Or rsync, or something of that.
yeah, well, I still tell rsync to use SSH.
But yeah, for the practical purposes of this, we will actually install SSH service as well. And We will not allow all the root to log
Log in
in.
is root.
Yeah.
It's an Ubuntu shining star right there.
Yeah. I don't think we need anything else really. So we'll turn SSH on.
Oh, I saw it on there. Another use for FTP is TFTP. There's a lot of cases where you just can't get around that.
TFTP.
Yeah, if you,
Last time I used TFTP and installed it through Debian, I actually had a D package
You say
installed.
build ICT?
And so I have shied away from
Make us.
TFTP ever since.
TFTP is really useful for doing.
Or the address.
Yeah.
122.40.
They made it
I
easy
had to do that
Can't log into
because basically at the time and my financial situation, I had no other choice but
Is it login or user?
to install something.
I don't know how to use
So
this.
that was a very fun thing.
I don't remember.
Just SSH.
TFTP is also crucial for phones if you're doing IP phones.
Really?
Yeah, because it's how they send the firmware to the phone every time it boots up.
Oh, didn't know that.
Which is also usually why phones are on their own VLAN, separate from all other networks. Usually.
Oh wait. What was our users we put in? WuLUG? Oh, your key just fell off, Chase.
W, yeah.
Does that
yeah,
happen?
You smash it really hard, it clicks back on.
Wow.
Did they build another private package?
So,
Why is your FTP so weird, Cade?
I don't know. Are you on my local machine?
Yeah.
Why did you turn FTP on? Oh, it's the client?
Yeah. Your client's like not asking for passwords and
I
stuff.
don't.
Any kind of
Well, that would have to be the server end, or is it just not authenticated?
You used to have a weird FTP client installed.
You have to send a flag for the user. Did you do that? Oh, you gotta do WuLUG : password add.
I have to put the password in plain text? That doesn't make any sense.
I think there's a flag you can send it to tell it to ask for the password, but I don't know what it is.
Alright,
I got my ticket, 1976.
If it's a user for FTP, why does it matter if it's in plain text?
that's true. Well, so someone over your shoulder doesn't see it though. I actually messed up the password.
Something that always bothered me, I used to run
There you
like
go.
other servers and stuff, and I would have a lot of Windows clients, you know, but FTP, here's the thing, FTP is built into file explorer, and SFTP is not. I don't really know any other alternatives.
It's strange.
And with the people I had to work with, like, they typically couldn't really figure out how to use just an FTP client, let alone file explorer. So that's why I've used FTP for a long time when I did that.
Where's, oh my god.
Don't worry, half of our graduate students think that PuTTY is an entire protocol.
Well,
How do I get PuTTY into? How do I PuTTY into this?
Hey, you got a
into our
Dropbox.
Fidenza?
What do you want?
I'm on his local machine. This is on his laptop right now. So I'm on his laptop, and I'm actually going to, on his Linux machine, I'm going to SSH, I'm going to make an SFTP folder to the FreeNAS server we made. So we had set up all the Windows stuff. So this is how, if you're running a Linux machine, how to access the FreeNAS with just native protocols, SSH or FTP.
Another reason to run FTP, by the way, if you have files that you want to share with the world, but you would be liable, you could set up an FTP server that's easy to get into, and you're not liable because you had it password protected technically.
makes sense.
If you had files that you wanted to share,
Have you used this
you
before,
can't
Jim?
necessarily openly share because you'd be liable.
Oh, I
Then you could just put it out there on FTP and somebody's gonna crack it with files anyway. But you weren't liable because you password protected.
Did I get the address wrong?
Is it that bad?
122.35. 122.168. Chase, do you not have the, I don't understand.
I don't know. What happens when you click connect to server? Is this what happens?
once you create yourself, Shan, there's not an issue.
Why is it not asking me? Oh, it's searching. Holy crap.
Yeah. There you go.
Hey.
awesome projects.
There we go. So this is the file structure of the FreeNAS server. And really it's just Unix. So if you know your way around a Unix system, you technically could just get through the whole system from here. If your user has permissions, that is. But this was the WuData ZFS volume we made. This is the share folder. These are our users. This is our WuLUG user we set up. With an FTP server, you could jail your logins to this folder, and you would have FTP permissions from there. You can't SSH jail, I don't think. I know there's a way, but it's really not easy.
The problem is the SSH key.
Yeah.
You would have to set up a virtual interface and
But technically, yes, you could make a jail and run SSH in your jail, and then you could just have a folder for your users in there. But that's kind of a stretch for a lot of this. Let's see if FTP works the same way. I actually did set up the jail for this WuLUG folder on the FTP server. Yes.
Is this consumer in the point that this runs great and it's a 5-year-old? But you don't
That's okay. I feel like your computer's mad.
Because they can't. Because they're direct.
Oh.
Yeah, that's exactly.
That's weird.
Because the user doesn't have a home directory.
Oh, right. Okay. So the jail didn't work. Let me check. Oh, hey, that's still going. Just in case you were wondering.
Yeah. Business level. I mean.
Why is it? Why? See, I set this.
That by hundreds of bill attitudes everything has.
Did you set a user directory for that user?
I set CH root to the user's home directly, unless the user. Oh, I see.
Fair enough. Okay. But dude, they have butterfly keyboards.
There we go. Okay. I don't know. I don't know if that's gonna fix what I want or not. Turn it off. Turn it back on.
But it just proves that IBM was so innovative, and then the cloud.
Yeah, it's a little logged out.
Well, what did you log into?
The server.
The FTP?
Yes.
Why does it say it's non-existent?
Because it doesn't. The user that I logged in with doesn't have a home directory set up.
Okay.
The home directory was set up as non-existent, so it didn't know where to go. But
This specific model range 95. But now instead, Lenovo continues.
it didn't work either. But okay. Anyways, this is FTP at least working on it. So
Okay, so this is for how this is for
if your users actually had home directories like they're supposed to on an FTP system, then it would be fine. You would jail them to their home directory and they could put their files in there. Cool.
I average 10%.
Yeah, you gotta enable it.
Yeah, we'll let them go. Anyways, that's CFS. If anyone has any questions, just let us know.
Alright, embarrassing.
That's the FreeNAS